Hello everyone, welcome to the video lecture series of Cryptography and Network Security. I am your instructor Dr. Ramesh Prajapati, and today I am going to discuss the remote user authentication. Now let us see the outline of this video lecture. The first, remote user authentication with the symmetric encryption. The second, mutual authentication and the one-way authentication. The mutual authentication and one-way authentication, these are the two techniques of a remote user authentication with the symmetric encryption. So let's start. The first, what is a remote user authentication? So remote user authentication, it is one mechanism in which the remote server verifies the legitimacy of the user over an insecure communication channel. At Gmail server, it is called the uh, remote server. We have to authenticate. It means if I want to access the Gmail account, so first of all I'll input the username and the password. So this password is authenticated to the Gmail server. It means I am the uh, perfect person or the correct person or not. So it is called the remote server, and the one example of remote server is the password. Now all the people are using the Gmail password, and this is one example of the remote user authentication. Now the next is the mutual authentication. That is the two-level hierarchy of symmetric encryption keys. It means there are two different symmetric keys are used in the encryption. The first key is used for data encryption, and the second key will be used for encryption of session key for accessing the two different users. So the two-level hierarchy of symmetric encryption keys can be used to provide the confidentiality for communication in a distributed environment. So now here we are using the concept of the symmetric encryption key. Now in this scheme, it involves the use of the trusted key distributed center. It means the key distribution center, and we already discussed about the key distribution center, right? So here in this remote user authentication using the symmetric encryption, we are using the key distribution center. Now, as you know, each party, it means all the users in the network share a secret key to known as a master key with the key distribution center. That means if user A want to communicate with user B, so before the communication, user A send their secret key to KDC with the KDC, and this secret key is called the master key. The same for user B. User B want to communicate with user A, so before the communication, user B share their secret key to the with the KDC, key distribution center, and the secret key is also called the master key. The next, the KDC is responsible for generating a keys to use for a short time over a connection between two parties, and it is known as a session key. It means now the key distribution center will generate the secret key, and this secret key will send to both the user for the communication. And now through this session key, user A will communicate with user B. It means user A means the session key will be shared with the two different user A and user B. Now, and for distributing those keys using the master keys to protect the distribution. Now, the Needham and the Skoder has proposed one technique for secret key distribution using the key distribution center, and it include the authentication feature. Now you know that what is authentication, right? It means authentication means user's identity. It means if there are two user A and user B, user A want to communicate with user B, so user A should authenticate by the user B, and user B should be authenticated by user A. Now after authentication process, after completion of authentication process, it will start the communication. So now we will see the Needham and the Schroeder's technique. Now you can see in this figure there are two user, initiator A and initiator B, or responder B we can say that, and the key distribution center. Now if user A want to communicate with user B, so the first user A will send the request to key distribution center for getting the session key or secret key. User A send the request message to KDC, key distribution center, and in that message it include the identity of user A, identity of user B, and the nonce N1. Now after receiving the request by the user A, from the user A, key distribution center will generate the session key. The key distribution center will generate the one encrypted message with the session key. Now the message, you can see the formula or equation is over here. You can see the equation. The whole message is encrypted using the user A's master key. Now the master key is known by only the KDC, key distribution center, and that user only. So here the message is encrypted using the user A's master key, and in that message it included the KA. It means the master key which is generated by the user A, KS secret key, or we can say that the session key, it appended with the identity of user B, IDP, and N1 nonce. So this is the first portion of the message, and the second portion of the message is encrypted by the user B. It means the message is encrypted using the KB, this master key of user B. KS session key is appended with the user identity A. Now this KDC will generate this encrypted message and is sent to the user A. Now user A will encrypt the message with their master key and get the session key, and get the session key. Now the second portion of the message, it means E of KB, KS appended with the ID A. So it only decrypt by the user B, because user B was encrypted this message. So only user B will decrypt this message. Now the second portion of the message, user A will send the second portion of the message to user B. Now you can see in third step, user A will send the second portion of the message to user B. Now user B will receive the message, and in that message and the receiver decrypt this message using the master key of user B. Now in that message included the user identity A and the KS secret key. That means when user B encrypted this message, now it will get the session key. In the step number 4, it performed the authentication. Now the B's reply to user A, which is encrypted using the session key and the nonce N2. Now user A replied to user B with the message is encrypted using the secret key KS and nonce that is generated by the user B and F of N2. It is F of N2. Now, so this all the process of mutual authentication. And this protocol is still vulnerable to form of a replay attack. It means the replay attack, it means that during the transmission of message from A to B, the third fellow will capture the message which is sent by the user A. And later on that message is sent to the user B, and this message is sent by the attacker. So this is called the replay attack. So how the replay attack will be possible in this scenario? So suppose that opponent, or we can say that attacker X is one attacker, has been able to compromise an old session key. Now X can impersonate A and trick B into using the old session key by simply replaying step 3. User A won't communicate with user B. So in step number 3, opponent or attacker will capture the message, and whenever the communication between communication between user A and user B will complete, after some time the same message will be sent by attacker to user B. User B doesn't know that this message, the message was sent by the attacker. So this is now the next step. Unless the B remembers the indefinitely all the previous session keys used with A, and B will unable to determine that this is a replay. Advice: in the third step, the session key will be stored by user B. Now user B will get the message and decrypt that message using the master key of user B. After decryption, it will get the session key. Now here the user B doesn't know this message was sent by the attacker X instead of user A. Here the replay attack will start over here. Now the next, if the X can intercept the handshake message in step 4, and then it can impersonate A's response in step 5. You can see in this figure. Yeah, you can see the step number 4 and the 5. User B received the message from user A in the third step. After getting the message, it will decrypt the message, and in the reply message is sent to user A with the session key is encrypted with the nonce N2. Now again the X or attacker intercept that message. In the step number 5, the user A will reply to user B. The message included the nonce N2, which is generated by user B, and the session key. This encrypted hold the message and send to the user B. Now again now X intercept the message which is replied by A and B, and this reply message is step number 4 and step number 5. Now in the last step, if X can intercept the handshake message in step 4 and then it impersonates A's response in step 5, it means the attacker intercept the message available in step 4 and the step 5. Now user X, or we can say the attacker X, sent the bogus message to user B. User B doesn't have any idea about the message was sent by the attacker instead of user A. Now to overcome this scenario, or to overcome this weakness, one of the scientists, Denning, is modified modify the Needham-Scotus protocols. It include the addition of timestamp to step 2 and 3. It means that in step 2 and step 3 we will include this timestamp. So now here the Denning proposal assumed that the master keys Ka and Kb are secure, and it consists of following steps. So now see the steps of this Denning protocol proposal. Now the first step, user A. It means if A want to communicate with user B, user A send the request message to KDC, and in that message it include the identity of user A and identity of user B. Now in the second step, when KDC receive the message from user A, then KDC will generate the encrypted message and it's sent to the user A. Now in that message you can see the second step, the KDC will generate the encrypted message and is sent to the user A, and in that message it included the timestamp T, ID B user identity, and K is the secret key or the session key is encrypted using the master key of user A. This is the first portion, and the second portion will not be encrypted by user A. The second portion of the message is encrypted only by user B. Now user A will decrypt the message with the master key of user A and get the session key. Now the second portion of the message, it means E of KB, KS appended with the ID A and the timestamp is sent to the user B. Now the third step, user A will send the second portion of the message to user B, and in that message it included the session key appended with the identity of user A, and the timestamp is encrypted using the master key of B. Now user B get this message and decrypt that message and get the session key. Now in the step number 4, B reply to user A, and in that reply message it encrypted using the session key and generate the nonce N1. Now the reply message, user A will send the message to B, and this message is encrypted using the session key and nonce, and this nonce is already generated by the user B. So this is the simple scenario of Denning process. Now here we have already included the timestamp, as you know, right? So here the T is a timestamp that assures the A and B that the session key has only just been generated, right? We have already generated the timestamp for A and B. That means in step 2 and step 3 we have already generated the timestamp, and session key has only just been generated. Now here user A and B can verify the time by checking that. It means if user A and B want to verify the time, so there is one formula for that. The clock minus T represents the timestamp, and less than delta T1 plus delta T2. It means the delta T1 is the estimated normal difference between the KDC's clock and the local clock. Now the delta T is the expected network delay time. It means the delta T1 plus delta T2 is greater than the timestamp. Now again here the required relay on a clock that are synchronized throughout the network points out a risk involved. We involve the clock. That means both the clock are synchronized with each other. It means both the user's clock will be synchronized with the key distribution center. Now in this scenario, the one problem is that every time the clock will not be synchronized in the network. Distributed clock can become unsynchronized as a result of fault in a clock or the synchronization mechanism. So each and every time the clock of the both the users and the KDC will not synchronize, because the time of the local and the time of the local area network and the time of the global network will be different. So here we should follow that the clock between the users and the KDC will synchronize to each other. So the user and the KDC clock on the same time. So the KDC will send the message. All users send the message to KDC, and the KDC will reply the message to particular user. But each and every time it is not possible to synchronize to all the clock are in the same time. The problem occurs when the sender clock is ahead of the intended recipient clock. It means sometimes what happens, the sender clock is ahead of the receiver's clock. So when receiver send the message to sender, so after some time the receiver will receive that message. So here the clock is not synchronized. So here the opponent can intercept the message from the sender and replay it later when the timestamp in the message become a current at the recipient side. So this replay could cause an unexpected result. So to overcome this problem, the gong refer to such attack as suppress reply attack. It means gong refer to such attack as suppress replay attack. Now here the one way to counter suppress replay attack is to enforce the requirement that parties regularly check their clock against the KDC's clock. It means all the users in the network continuously check their clock to the KDC for regular interval of time. Now the other alternative which avoid the need for clock synchronization is to rely on handshaking protocol using the nonce. It means that each and every time all the clock it will not synchronize to each other. So to avoid this problem is to rely on handshaking protocol using the nonce. So this later alternative is not vulnerable to suppress the replay attack, because the nonce the recipient will choose in the future are unpredictable to the sender. So the Needham and the Stoddard protocol relies on nonce only, but as we have seen as other vulnerability. Now we will modify the Needham and Stoddard's protocol. So the improved strategy was presented in this protocol is, now you can see in this figure, the user A, before if user A want to communicate with user B, so the first user A cannot send the request message to KDC. It directly send the message to user B. Now in the first step, the message included ID A, indicated the identity of user A, and the nonce A, which is created by user A. Now in the second step, user B received the message from the user A, then B will send a request message to KDC. KDC will send the, now KDC will generate the message and encrypt the message and send to the user B. Now in that message, it included the ID B, identity of user B,